What's up, party people? Welcome back to my channel. If this is the first time you have clicked on my video, thank you so much for clicking on this video and welcome. In this episode, I will be talking about autumn, starting the wonderful menstruation cycle. So stay tuned. First of all, I'll start out by saying, like, we knew this was coming. It's not like it's a surprise, like, hey. Actually, the doctor talked to us like last year. Yeah, it was almost a year ago in January. He's like, it's gonna start coming soon. Girls with Down syndrome are more likely to get it a little sooner. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I think my initial reaction was, I was really upset. Like, I just started crying. I don't know why, but I just couldn't stop the tears from coming. Like, I know she's not a baby anymore. I know she's a big girl, but it's like developmentally, she's still so incredibly low and she depends on us for everything. She depends on us to give her a bath and to clean her and to help her wipe herself. And she's still in diapers. And I think like all that's just so overwhelming. Like, I'm not ready for this next chapter. And I don't think anybody is, even if you have a typical child that is getting their period for the first time, or if it's a child with special needs, I don't think anybody's really ready. All of a sudden you become ready because you don't have a choice. But yeah, so I think my first reaction was the school called me on the phone and they were like, it looks like Autumn's having her period. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Well, like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, is this the first time? And I'm like, yeah, like, what? And I think it took me a little while to register. And they're like, oh, congratulations. And I'm like, congratulations to what? Like, in my head, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I didn't say that, but I don't know. Well, that was my first thought in my head. And I'm like, well, congratulations, welcome to hell. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm just kidding. But that's how I felt at the moment. And we were actually walking around Target. And I just turned to my husband and I'm like, Autumn started her period. And he's just like, oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll go get pads right now. Like, yeah. And I think like my first reaction was just like shock. I was just like, oh, I knew it was coming, but it's still like shocking when it does finally happen. You're like, what now? And then we got in the car and like we're driving back home and I just started crying, like hysterically crying. And I don't know, I was thinking about the day she was born and I was thinking about, all the things she'll never do and that, she'll never be able to have a child. I mean, she physically could, but she wouldn't be able to take care of one. So we wouldn't want that for her. And just all the things that you hope for your children, for their future and everything. So I'm literally crying my face off. And like my mom calls me because I texted her and I'm like, I'm kind of a mess. I don't know. And my mom's like, it's understandable that you're upset and don't worry, it's gonna be fine. Everybody goes through this. And she's like, I know it's gonna be harder for you guys and it's more stress for you guys, but it's gonna be fine. You'll get into a routine, everything's gonna be fine. And I'm like hearing all this and everybody's texting me and calling me and telling me it's gonna be fine. But I'm sitting here bawling my face off like a freaking lunatic. And I'm like feeling so incredibly alone. And I think that's the hardest thing as a special needs parent. You feel like you are the only one in the world going through this. And I know that there's tons of other parents going through this and struggling with it and being upset. And then there's other people that have special needs kids that are just not even fazed by it. They're like, it's life, it's normal, and it doesn't bother them. But I am not that kind of person. I feel big. I don't know any other way to feel. So when I found it out, I was feeling big and upset. Obviously I'm gonna move past this and I'm gonna be fine, but I think the initial shock was like, I don't know. I'm not ready. Someone push the stop button or the pause button because I'm not ready. So I forgot to mention that when we found out and I talked on the phone with the nurse and everything, I went to the school and I like brought pads and I brought ibuprofen because I was like panicked and I was upset and I was like crying. And they kind of looked at me when I came to the office because they all know me. And they're like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, the nurse called me and they could tell by my face, she's not okay. And then I'm sure they saw the stuff in my hands because I had like pads and I had like some ibuprofen. And they're like, oh, okay, do you want to talk to her teacher? And then I saw her teacher walking by and I went out there and I said, you know what, is she okay? And I was like talking to her and she goes, yeah, just sign in and you can come see her. And so I was like, okay. So I signed in and I went to go see her and she was at the cafeteria eating lunch. Acting like nothing, totally fine, like normal Autumn, eating her lunch, like, Mom, I'm fine. giving me a look like, I'm fine, what are you doing here? And I'm like a mess, crying, like a hot mess. Like, I'm sure you're okay. And I'm like hugging her, and she's like, what the fuck, Mom? Like, I'm fine. And it kind of like, of course, made me feel better. And I was like reassured, like, okay, this is going to be fine. We're going to get through this because Autumn obviously is fine. So it's going to be fine. So then I leave and I get into the office and I'm signing out. And then the lady in the office is like, I don't mean to be nosy, but it's like the first time for her. And I'm like, yeah. And I like start crying. And she's like, oh, I felt the same way when my daughter started. I can't imagine how you feel. It must be a lot harder. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like trying so hard. I'm like not to cry, but I'm like crying. And then like the nurse comes out and she's like, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. And I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. But you know when you're like trying to hold yourself together, you're like trying not to cry, and you're like trying to keep the tears in, but they're coming and you can't stop it. Yeah, that's how I felt. But I know we'll get through this and it'll be fine. I just have to look to Autumn because she was like the strong one in this situation. Even though my husband's the same, my husband's like, it's gonna be fine. It's fine. And I'm like, I know it's fine, but I'm not fine, okay? But when I talked to my mom on the phone, she was like the same. She was like, we're probably more upset about it than she is. I'm like, you're probably right about that. My whole family, we're all upset. We're like, oh God, this is the end of the world. And Autumn's over here like, I'm fine. You guys are weird. Another thing that you'll notice if you're a special needs parent is like milestones. Milestones are always really hard and you're never prepared for it. And once you hit a milestone, it's like, oh no, the roller coaster begins. And I know special needs parents know what I'm talking about. It's like, you know, the road ahead is gonna be bumpy as crap. And it ain't gonna be fun. Not the fun kind of bumpy. Not the fun kind of roller coaster where you're like, yeah, this is fantastic. It's like the roller coaster, like, get me the F off this thing right now. I am over this. As Autumn says, all done, all done. Stop, 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 stop. And I'm sure it's gonna be hard. I think the main thing I'm worried about is cramping because I get a lot of cramping myself, and I worry for her because she can't tell me. She's nonverbal. She can sign, and we're trying to teach her how to be able to tell us how she feels because that's a huge thing that she struggles with. So that's going to be extremely hard. And so I immediately feel bad for her. I immediately feel like, how am I going to help her through this as her mom? And, you know, and it's so hard. I'm like talking about it because I'll start crying, but I just wish it could be easier for her. And I think that's why I've cried so much. I feel like it's just not fair, you know, it's not fair. And why does it have to be this freaking hard? And I would trade places with her in an instant if I could, because yeah, it's just not fair. But it is what it is, and you just have to get up and get through it, right? Everybody in the world is suffering in some kind of way, you know? And I think that's how I get through it. That's how we all get through it. We just know it's not gonna be this way forever. It's gonna get easier. We're gonna have a routine and it'll be fine. We'll be fine. It's just hard, you know, getting to that place. I'm also super duper duper thankful for my family because they all know that I'm struggling, you know, and they all want to help. And I'm so thankful for my family. I don't know what I would do without them because I already have my sister doing research for me. I already have like everybody in my corner. Everybody wants to help and everybody is going to help me get through it. And I don't know what I would do without my family. Love you guys. Anyways, if you guys have gone through this, make sure you leave something in the comments if you have any recommendations or any advice. I'd really appreciate it. This is new territory for me, obviously, even though I myself have been through it. Like, I haven't been through it with a special needs child, and I'd appreciate any advice. So leave it in the comments below. I'm gonna get through this, right guys? I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching my babbling and somewhat crying hot ass messness. This is real life, people. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please make sure you hit the like button. Also subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. More videos to come. And yeah, I'm going to be working on creative stuff too, and more stuff about Autumn, of course. Always. Thanks for watching. And here is a clip of Autumn earlier today laughing. I forgot to mention she's doing just fine so far, day 1. I don't know how the future is going to be with it, but right now, she's good. I gave her some ibuprofen. She's good. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're wondering how she's doing, she's obviously doing fine. She's just being silly with me. Huh? You're being silly with me. Love you.